Hi, in this video we're going to be talking about the situation where you start your computer and then all of a sudden you have multiple versions of Windows to choose from, and then you need to choose the right one in order to start your computer. Alright, so this can happen for a variety of reasons, such as, let's say you're doing a 24H2 to 25H2 update, and sometimes it'll create a second boot entry during the update process. So both entries technically point to the same OS installation, but the old one isn't removed automatically. Or let's say you're cloning your drive maybe to a faster or larger drive. This could happen as well because it could leave behind extra boot entries. Or maybe you had a dual boot or a previous installation, and then you have some leftovers that may remain in the BCD configuration. And there's also a possibility where you have some bootloader errors such as interrupted updates or recovery options, which could create duplicate entries in the boot manager. All right, so let's boot into the proper Windows here, and then we'll show you a couple ways to fix it. Okay, so we're going to show you two different methods of how you could do this. One is via the command line, and one is via the GUI, so you could choose whichever method works for you, and whether or not you have BitLocker on the computer will also affect this process. And then, of course, if you're on Windows 11 Home, this is not going to apply because BitLocker is only for other higher versions such as Pro. But you can disable the device encryption on Windows 11 Home if needed, because you're probably going to want to do that before doing this process to avoid any errors. Okay, so before we get started, let's look at the GUI here. So if we do an msconfig from the search box here, open the system configuration, go to boot, you can see we have both entries here as well. And if you know which one is the one you could get rid of, you could just select it and delete it. So in this case, it's obvious because this one is grayed out, so we can't delete it. So that's the easy way to do it. So we're going to do that as well, but first we're going to do the command line version. All right, so we need to open an administrative command line here. CMD, run as administrator. Yes to the UAC prompt. All right, so in order to see all the boot entries, we're going to run this BCDEdit command here. All right, so you can see we have the boot manager, then we have the bootloader with this identifier here and this identifier here. And you can see that this one says unknown. So that's an indication that this is the one we're not using and the one we want to get rid of with this ID here. So I have the two IDs here. You can see the one that ends in 706 is the one we want to get rid of here. So if you want to back up your boot configuration data first, you could use this tool to do so. Let's do this real quick. Let's clear the screen. All right, so that was nice and quick. So this will be stored on your C drive as BCD backup. So let's check that out right here. All right, so now if you have BitLocker enabled on your computer, you should disable it first. Or if you don't, just make sure you have the key handy in case you get asked for it. So to check the status, you could use this command here to manage BDE status. So you can see it says conversion status fully decrypted, not encrypted. So BitLocker is not on this computer. And then here are the commands you could use to suspend it while you do this process, and then you could re-enable it after the process is complete. So I'll have all this in the description so you could just copy and paste it. All right, so now we're going to delete the duplicate entry here. So we need to do BCDEdit/delete with the identifier. So let me just copy this and replace it so I could do it all in one shot here, like so. And if something goes wrong, you could boot into the Windows recovery mode, from your flash drive or by holding down Shift, restart, and do a command prompt, and then run this command here to restore your backup. All right, so let's clear the screen again. All right, completed successfully. All right, so now let's do msconfig again. And now you can see it's gone. All right, so now let's go ahead and restart and confirm that it's gone from the boot up menu as well. All right, so you can see we loaded Windows without having that menu there. So let's go ahead and log in. All right, now we're back in business. Let's check msconfig one more time here. And now it's gone. All right, so now I'm going to reset this computer here, and then we're going to try it from the GUI just to prove that that works as well. All right, so we're back on the screen here, but before we go back into Windows and do the other method, let's see what happens if we pick the wrong entry here. All right, so you can see we get this recovery error because that is not a real Windows installation. So that's a sure way to find out which one is the proper entry to use here. All right, so let's go back out of here. All right, let's go into the proper Windows version. Let's log in. All right, let's do msconfig again. All right, let's remove this one here. Okay, let's reboot again and see what happens. All right, so we're back on our desktop, msconfig again, and it's still gone. All right, so as you can see, it's not too difficult to get rid of that extra Windows boot entry there. So now you have two methods of doing it. So if you want to do the easy way with the GUI here, or if you want to do the fancy way with the command line, you can do that as well. And of course, if you're using BitLocker, you're going to want to at least use the command line to disable it temporarily. And if you are using device encryption in Windows 11 Home, you'll have to do that through the graphical user interface to disable it before continuing. So this computer doesn't have it enabled, so I can't actually show you how to enable it, but it's pretty easy to do if you do have it enabled. All right, so like I said, I'll have all this information here in the description. And if you want to do it the command line way, you could do that. Otherwise, just do it through msconfig. All right, thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe.